a Polokwane community has given thanks for the safe return of the 4 Moti boys who were kidnapped for 3 weeks. There is still no word on the investigation, though. eNCA senior reporter Barry Bateman is there now, and he joins us now live. Barry, speak to us about whether or not we know if the police have made any inroads in investigating what truly happened when these 4 young boys were kidnapped on the 20th of October.
Heidi, that is the big question. You know, police are asking. I mean, there's much relief from this community here in Polokwane that these 4 boys have returned, but there are many unanswered questions going back 3 weeks, firstly, to what happened on that day when the 4 brothers were snatched away, and of course, that they were just suddenly released this week. So the questions surrounding to what degree the police were involved in this and how far they are into actually catching the suspects. Now, earlier this week, I spoke to the former head of the police's forensic psychology unit, Dr. Gerard Labaskachny, and he was telling me that the history of this, the history shows that the police almost never catch the culprits in kidnapping cases like this, that we're probably dealing with very, very serious professionals who have done this before, that this is a business for them. So the chances of actually capturing them are very, very slim. Now, the question then follows, well, what led to the release? Heidi, I can tell you there's many questions swirling. Was a ransom paid? And if a ransom was paid, how much was it? And whether or not the police had any part in that particular aspect of the release. We're, of course, waiting for the family to come out and speak. But, of course, we're respecting their privacy at this stage. They've just been reunited with their family so that these boys can at least get some stability back into their lives, let the parents, you know, rekindle with their children. And then we can hopefully have a sit down and get some answers. But at this stage, unfortunately, Heidi, no update to give you formally.
Yes, and I mean, we've been trying to get some kind of clarity from police. But what's interesting, Barry, is that we actually got a written response from the family's spokesperson yesterday, who indicated that the police played an integral part in the release of the boys. But many have also raised the question in the manner in which the boys were found and how they were dropped off. I know you've covered extensively stories such as this, and oftentimes you find people are just dropped off on the side of the road when they have been kidnapped, and possibly if a ransom was paid. We're not sure when it comes to the Moti Brothers.
Well, I think you're quite right, Heidi. The reason the boys were dropped off in the manner that they were, it's to just create that distance between the kidnappers and their captives. And when by distance, I mean evidence. So they were dropped off quite late at night in a remote area. You almost guaranteed not to have any eyewitnesses. You also wouldn't have let the family or the authorities know that they were being dropped off before the drop-off is actually made, so that there can be no possibility that the authorities stage a sting in the area of the drop-off. So again, I go back to what I said a second ago and what is being suggested by Gerard Labaskachny. We are dealing with professionals here, that these are people who knew exactly what they were doing. So in the manner in which these boys were dropped off, they were dropped off in a remote area for a very specific reason. They were just so fortunate, I think, Heidi, to find that family that you spoke to this week, who so generously and I suppose with shock brought them in and alerted the authorities.